I'd like to call to order Plan Commission meeting for May 21st, 2024. Before we begin, could you please make a little weather announcement for us all?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I am the city planner, Deanna Schmidt. Do want to just take a moment to note that we are under a tornado watch, and staff up here will keep our eyes on the weather, and if there happens to be, hopefully not, a tornado warning, we all will move very quickly across the hall, down the stairs into the basement. So just want to give you kind of heads up of which direction we're going. If we do go under a tornado warning, we will move very quickly down across the hall and down the stairs into the basement, okay? So just keep that in mind. If there is any bad weather or we should lose power or anything at that point, we'll work with the chair and staff to decide whether or not we need to postpone the rest of the meeting to a later date. Any questions or concerns about that? Okay, thank you all.
All right, next up then is approval of minutes.
I move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Next is public appearances for non-agenda items. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak about something not on the agenda? Okay, great. Next up is agenda review. Any changes needed?
There are no changes necessary to the agenda.
All right, thank you. So then, going into 5 for the real agenda items, 5A, public hearing and consideration of comprehensive development plan to approve the Jamestown Quarry Comprehensive Development Plan to allow for commercial and residential development on the property located off Fitchburg Road. Could the applicants please come up and tell us about this? Looks like Chris, Jeffrey, and Corey.
Yeah, please.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Hunley. I am the manager of Fitchburg Partners, and we are the developer of the 32.5 acres known as the Wingra property at Fitchrona and McKee. What we are kind of proposing at this point is kind of what we know, and we have some commercial users for the front on McKee Road, and we have a multi-family component on the rear of the property. And then we have 19 acres in the center that it's kind of an unknown at this point, that will be going back and forth with the city. And as we get users or we get a anchor tenant, so to speak, we'll be coming back in front of you at each time and be seeking approval for that type of use. But today, the known uses we have are the 4 outlots and the multifamily. And with me is Chris Dawson from JSD and Corey Frank from CF Properties, or Real Estate. And we're here to answer any questions you have.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Staff, would you give your report?
Certainly, and I will be just doing a brief overview of the report in the memo. It is fairly extensive. This site is a portion of the Wingra Quarry, which we refer to at the city as the outfield. It is at the northwest corner of McKee and Fitchrona Road. It is governed, this general area is governed by the Anton Drive redevelopment plan with a mix of medium density, high density residential, and then mixed use or business on this site. The proposal is consistent with the future land uses. It is staff's understanding that there's 4 smaller lots fronting McKee, and a multifamily lot to the northeast off of Fitchrona Road. Staff is under impression, and so what you'll see in your packet, Plan Commission, is actually 2 different options for the remainder of the commercial site. One would be for some smaller box junior commercial, so something more like TJ Maxx kind of thing. Or the other option is a larger commercial lot, a larger commercial user that would be just one main user. So the staff notes that the infield, which is what we refer to as the remainder of the existing quarry, is slated to continue at the current use for the time being. The applicants have prepared a traffic analysis, and they are in discussion and working with the city's engineers on what types and what level of improvements might be needed. So we'll continue to work through that as we move through the next stages of the approval process. The next stage for this project would be Planned Development District, GIP would be the next stage for this, and then preliminary plat. Staff does recommend approval with a total of 7 conditions, and we are happy to answer any questions.
Or if no questions, I'd love to make a motion.
I was just going to add, too, that I did attend one of the neighborhood meetings. There has been a lot of neighborhood outreach, and the neighborhood is generally in favor of this, and they're excited to have some new commercial uses up there in the neighborhood. And they were also very happy with the multifamily plan. It's a very solid and very innovative plan for multifamily housing on that. So I just wanted to let everyone know it was very well received by the neighborhood.
Great. One thing I did forget to open the public hearing, so if anyone is here wishes to speak, please do so now. Then I will close the public hearing. Yes.
I was also excited about the multifamily plan. Could you talk a little bit more about that, what that looks like?
Oh, can you hear me? All right. Sorry, I thought I needed a green light like theirs. So the multifamily component, Corey Frank with CF Real Estate, by the way. We've been working with Jeff Huntley here as far as the high-density multifamily portion located at the northeast corner of the overall development. It's approximately 6.5 acres of the development. And what we're planning there is a Texas wrap style apartment, which we've done several of in the Madison area. So basically what it is a four-story parking ramp surrounded by the residential units. So with that, our proposed plan will be having approximately 400 parking stalls internally in the parking ramp, which isn't visible from the exterior as one benefit. 2, it reduces overall impervious surface area for the site, going up 4 stories with parking versus just a level underground and a bunch of surface parking, as you typically see. Adds to sightliness due to less surface parking. And then the major benefit to the tenants of being able to park on their own floor directly by their units, which allows for very easy access into units from there. Additionally, there's a large rooftop amenity on the top of the parking ramp as well, which includes sports courts, fire pit seating, items such as that.
I just have one question. So if we approve this plan, when we go into the PDD phase, then we can become more specific about walkways? Because there was some conversation about, trying to have some walkways that tie the other neighborhood into it. So if we approve as it looks now, we're not foreclosed from then requiring that later. Is that correct?
Yep. We will be working through that once we move into the Planned Development District and the preliminary plat.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
We're not approving the exact site plan with the CDP. It's more of a land use document.
Okay, I'll move approval of Comprehensive Development Plan Request CDP 2541-24.
Second.
Seconded by Josh. All those in favor?
Do you want to stay with the conditions? I don't know if that matters.
Oh, thank you. With the 7 conditions recommended by staff.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. Next up then is 5B, public hearing and consideration of rezone from PDD SIP to PDD GIP, allow for residential development in the Swan Creek neighborhood on property off of East Sherrill Parkway.
Yeah, that's fine.
Fred, would you like to come up and...
Good evening, Fred DeVillers with IP Holdings. Here just to answer any questions.
Okay, and you too, Jordan?
Yep, also Jordan Bishop, co-developing, also with Star Company Realtors, answer any questions.
Okay, I guess we'll open the public.
Okay, with that then we'll open the public hearing. Anyone here from the public wish to speak on this matter? Then I'll close the public hearing. Staff.
This project has been before Plan Commission in a couple different formats already this year. Plan Commission and Council approved a minor comp plan amendment to take the future land use from medium high to high density. That is allowing the project to, instead of being limited at 54 units, to be 60 units is the allowable number. And then also Plan Commission and Council has recently approved the CDP, the Comprehensive Development Plan Amendment, to allow this project. So before you is the Planned Development District for GIP. The application is consistent in terms of the number of units and the layout of what was previously approved under the CDP. The development is proposing a density of roughly 10 dwelling units per acre, which would be just slightly over the medium density residential in our future land use plan. There's a garage driveway parking, garages for each house. These are actually single-family homes or duplexes, not on their own individual lot, but this will be a condominium development. Also in your packet, there's two items on our agenda that are related to this development. The first one is ordinance to change the code of ordinances to allow a smaller private street right of way, and then also to slightly reduce the vision triangles. The proposal provides adequate setbacks along the public-facing streets. Neighbors and the Swan Creek Homeowners Association have expressed 2 areas of concern that I'll bring to your attention. The first area of concern that has been brought to our attention is regarding the deed restrictions. The applicant has provided a letter from his attorney explaining that the Swan Creek deed restrictions likely do not apply to this particular development. And I'll just point out to the public and Plan Commission that the city does not enforce deed restrictions or covenants. That is a private matter. We do not require them. But I know that this has been a concern to the Homeowners Association and the neighbors. And the applicant assures staff that he is also preparing a set of deed restrictions and covenants that will be equivalent to what is already in the Swan Creek neighborhood in terms of deeds and covenants. So I wanted to bring that item to your attention. The second item that I wanted to bring to your attention, there's been concern regarding the driveways. One of the earlier versions of the site plan, it had an additional driveway connection straight to Big Blue Stem. In the in the CDP approved by Plan Commission and Council, that was not the case. And I know that there's been some concern about traffic on Sassafras. There is in your packet, Plan Commission, the traffic analysis, and to summarize that, the 60 new homes on this parcel is not going to have any substantial impacts to traffic on the public roadways. So with that, staff does recommend approval. I need to complicate things, unfortunately, a little bit here. The first item under 2D, we have a transcription error here. It should be 54%. Is that correct? Yes. 54% instead of 55%. So that would be item 2D. We'll need to just make a change to change 55% to 54%. And then, as I mentioned, there's two items on agenda that are directly related to this project. So I would need to add number 17 in terms of the conditions, approval of ordinance 2024-012, and then resolution R9624. So we'll need to add, so then we'll have a total of 17 conditions on this. And I am happy to take any questions.
Can you please repeat the ordinance number again?
You bet. R9624.
And the actual ordinance was something?
Yep, 012.
01224. I have a question about the vision corners. Mm-hmm. Can we just, I don't ever remember having a conversation about that up here. Can you just tell us a little bit of the difference of what the visual look in a 3D fashion, like when you're actually looking at the buildings?
Okay.
When you go from 40 feet to 25 feet, is there an appreciable difference, or how does that impact the real life vision of that corner when you're trying to stop and turn and see if traffic is coming?
We're not sure. We've been talking in staff about this a little bit, but the original Swan Creek at Nine Springs plat, way back in the day, required the 40-foot vision triangles, which are not to code, which are much larger than what we have in our Code of Ordinances and even much larger than our standard. So right now our Code of Ordinance only requires the 25-foot vision triangle. Of course, it's going to be, this does allow the building to come up closer, to change from 40 to 25, but we'll only be changing that on the Crinkle Root Sassafras corner, and then also the Big Blue Stem Sassafras corner. And the city engineer feels that that is more than acceptable and consistent with our current Code of Ordinances.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just want to ask a question about the hopeful pedestrian path. Is there a potential for that to cut kind of all the way through the block from Sherrill to Sassafras?
The engineers are working to figure out if any of that will work with the stormwater grading.
Okay.
The stormwater grading kind of comes first, unfortunately, because they have to make sure none of the houses are adversely affected by stormwater flows.
Okay.
And as they work through that, we'll know whether or not it's possible.
Because as I'm understanding it, the middle of the block will be basically the private road or the alleyway, right, to get to each of the driveways?
And a sidewalk alongside it, yes.
And a sidewalk alongside it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll run east-west
kind of. For comparisons, the blocks that are to the north of this block don't have a sidewalk within it.
Okay. And so then if stormwater allows, the intention is to run something kind of north-south across the block then?
Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay, thank you.
Julia, did you have something? Yep.
Yeah, yes. Hi, everyone. My question is, what about park dedication fees? do they need to, to submit any park dedication fee for this parcel, or how does this cover?
Fred, you might have some history because I know this project was completely approved and they might have already paid.
Some
and
history, and they were paid in full by the land developer.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Actually, that does kind of spur a question for me. I know we're going up by 6 units. Were those 6 units paid for as well with park
The
fees?
fee was based on the 114 that was originally proposed for this land.
Okay.
Parcel.
I'll move approval of rezone request RZ 254524 with 17 conditions outlined by staff with the change to 2D and the addition of 17 as mentioned by Deanna earlier.
Second.
Second by Carol. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Shoot. Sorry. I will try and give you guys a break. That motion carries. Thank you. Next up is conditional use. Oscar, agent for Manpower Training Center, to obtain an amusement and recreation services, drinking places, and restaurant conditional use to operate an event space, as well as a potential future restaurant located on property associated with 5264 Anton Drive.
So we're back to present our new packet. And again, what we're proposing is a multi-phase restaurant bar that includes food offerings, special events such as trivia, comedy for a cost, Latino nights on Fridays and Saturdays. And we're proposing the business to run from Tuesday through Sunday. So I believe that you folks already received our most recent packet, including the second response from our group regarding new comments or questions that you had.
All right, thank you. We have, sorry, where's the name? William wishes to speak in support. Would you like to come up? Just a friendly reminder, you get 3 minutes.
All right. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am the owner of the property. I've shown the property to a multitude of different people. I have a lot of confidence in this group and their ability to run a professional organization out of that building. I've visited their existing location. I've witnessed how they run things in a very safe and entertaining way. I think that the neighborhood needs this type of entertainment facility. As we all know, that's rather vacant in that area. I think that if you had an opportunity to see what these gentlemen are presenting and their experience with it, that you would give them an opportunity to at least prove themselves, that they can do what they say they can do and what they've been doing at their existing location for many years now. So I would hope that at the very least, if there was any concern, that they would be granted a conditional use permit that could be revoked if they don't perform as they say they will. Can I answer any questions?
We'll have a report from staff and then comments, but thank you.
Okay.
So as you might recall, this conditional use request was on the April 16th Plan Commission agenda. We postponed that to this meeting to allow the applicants to provide some additional information and and for staff to process that information. There is a current conditional use permit at this site, at this address, under conditional use 206615, which was originally approved by Plan Commission in 2015. More recently, conditional use permit 2494-23 was granted earlier last year in 2023, which allows for 6 events per month, including live bands, bridal showers, weddings, receptions, rehearsal dinners, corporate events, and similar parties. Those events were considered accessory uses to the approved conditional use permit for the fitness-related activities. That conditional use was only for the hours of 5:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Sunday through Thursday, and then from 5:30 p.m. to 12 midnight Friday and Saturday night. The property is located on Anton Drive and therefore governed by the Anton Drive redevelopment plan. The applicant is proposing the operation of an event and venue space that would allow for the sale of alcohol at the site. Events proposed include music, dancing, stand-up comedy, trivia, night markets, food trucks, and pop-up events. The applicants previously operate a similar business at the World of Beer in Middleton and are seeking to initially move the event portion to the Middleton operations to Fitchburg. They hope to open a similar restaurant at a later date. The World of Beer franchise would not move to this location, so they do intend to rebrand as a new business. Staff has concerns regarding parking with the increased numbers of late night events. There is approximately 85 parking stalls on site. The applicants state that they will not utilize on-street parking and have plans for valet parking. They also intend to enter into a reciprocal parking agreement with the Latino Chamber located just to their north. Staff notes that a safe pedestrian access would be needed between the Latino Chamber property and Mad Power property. The Mad Power current conditional use allows for just 6 events, six events per month, most of which were not expected to be near 250 persons. The applicant is proposing 20 employees with the hours of operation from 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. on Tuesdays through Thursdays, and then extending to 2 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. The location is directly across from the New Fountains Apartments. Staff does not recommend weekday hours later than 10 p.m. and weekend hours later than 12 midnight, similar to the Mad Power hours. The former Dry Bean that was also located at this site operated to 2 a.m., but patrons and employees were able to take direct access to and from Verona Road. That, of course, today is not possible. All traffic entering or leaving the site needs to come along Anton Drive. The applicants provided 2 similar businesses, Tavern Akaya and Momo. Tavern Akaya is located on the square in downtown Madison, and Momo is located just off of I-90 near the casino. Staff does not believe that a business similar to those 2 businesses are appropriate on Anton Drive. So in summary, staff does recommend denial of this conditional use permit, predominantly due to the request for 2 a.m. closing and the lack of kitchen facilities on site. If Plan Commission wishes to issue the conditional use permit, staff did prepare the following conditions for your review. I would suggest, after talking with our chair this evening, that we strike item number 8, which is the number of large events nearing 250 persons shall be limited to 4 times per month. That one you may wish to strike. So that would mean that there would be a total of 15 conditions, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you.
Oh, I should say also, Chief Morales is online for us if there are any questions that the Commission would wish to direct his way. Thank you very much, Chief, for being here tonight.
Is it appropriate to ask the
You're welcome.
applicant questions now, too? Obviously, the kitchen is an important component for at least some of us. Can you tell us what your plans are?
Yeah, so first I'd like to rectify one of the comments. It says that we are looking to move the special event part of our operation, and I think that that's not completely accurate on the pages. We are rebranding with the multi-phase business, so it will include the kitchen. So that during the regular hours, we will be offering food as well. So the kitchen is already, the plan's already on the packet as well for the kitchen. So we will develop the kitchen before we open the business.
Will it be a full-service kitchen? I mean, what kind of food are you?
So in our latest conditional use permit review response, which is on the number 2, it is specifying there that we'll have American food, bar food, burgers, and then a fusion with Asian food as well as part of our ongoing food developing as we move forward. So we'll have anything from burgers, flatbreads, chicken wings, salads, and then whatever else we find that is part of the trends throughout the years.
Okay, and I had another question. And when you host your dancing nights currently, I know in the packet it said that a lot of your clientele comes at about 11 o'clock. What numbers do you anticipate staying until 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the morning?
Well, we ran the event, the Lion Nights, for about 6 years, and typically people will stay until 2 a.m. And that was our closing time in Middleton. So 1:45 will be kind of when people start leaving the business, but most people will stay until closing time. We do have systems in place when it comes on to letting people out at a decent time, so we can actually manage and control the crowd. And that is to stop serving alcohol at 1:30 a.m., 1:25, 1:30, depending on how I personally assess the crowd based on their behavior at night at that time, and then we cut off at 1:20, in between 1:20 and 1:30, to allow the groups to start leaving the business in a orderly manner.
Can I understand why we're recommending striking that item number 8?
I recommend it because it's unenforceable.
Unenforceable?
How can you say, events nearing 250? I say you either have a capacity limit or you don't. But how are you going to say that event was, what is near, and who's monitoring that up to 4 times per month? That's where I was like, it feels unenforceable.
I mean, I just appreciate it on the condition, I think there's just a lot of different dynamics with this location, especially with the redevelopment of Verona Road. And so the idea that it's across from New Fountains, which is a lot of families, gives me a lot of pause on implementing this in a way that would allow for that many events. And so I guess that was my only inclination to say in this first, because this expires in a year, where we would have to reassess? Yeah.
I did put that this would expire in one of my proposed conditions was this would expire in 1 year to allow us to reassess. Yes.
Can I ask for the commission to explain a little bit more about what the concept is of striking, and what are the details on that?
Yeah, certainly. I'm sorry if this is confusing. I probably didn't maybe that wasn't quite the proper word, but there was some discussion that maybe item number 8 of the proposed conditions might be unenforceable or difficult to enforce, specifically in terms of how does staff know for sure if we're nearing 250 persons? It's just very difficult to collect that information. And then, keeping track of whether or not you have 5 events or 6 events or 4 events per year.
Can I add to that comment? And we did something similar in Middleton, and part of our packet was also every call or every visit from the police department for 2 years. And in that list, you will see a number of anything from 300 to 400 different points of that list. In that list, every visit that the police department was making to our establishment was specifically for that reason, to check on the business, right? For many reasons, just to check up on us, to see how we're doing, and part of that was to make sure that we're enforcing our capacity. We understand that the old drive-in, the capacity that is listed there is for about 530 people, I believe it's posted on the building. So this will reduce our capacity to half of what the building is actually designed for. And we are okay with 250 people. And we will have systems in place just like in Middleton, which was a clicker. So 3 people come in, there's a clicker. 3 people leave, there's a clicker that deducts that amount of people. And so we, at the door, will have a bouncer or a person, or up to 2 or 3 people checking IDs, and there will be 1 person assigned to making sure that we're not over capacity. Part of my responsibilities during those nights and those events is actually to monitor the crowd, to check the cameras, and I will be responsible for that.
Great, thank you. My point was more so about the enforcement. So I agree with you in that it's on Anton Drive. That's where I would rather enforce it by saying, let's say 200 instead of 250, not to try and say what is nearing, or say no more than 4 events per month that are over 200. But nearing is too vague. That was more of the point. I agree with the concept that the staff was going for in terms of there's a huge difference coming out of this property, going on to Verona Road, and going on to Anton Drive.
Yep.
Carol?
Well, I was going to ask too. I mean, to me, you're probably going to have people with, crowds of that size when you're talking about live music events, right? And those are the ones that are probably going to create the most traffic. So I think that would be one way you could limit it too, is to say, live music a certain number of times a month or whatever. But I still have a lot of my other concerns. I mean, this is a fragile neighborhood, and I really am resistant to think that a nightclub is a good addition right next to.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you again.
No, you will not interrupt when the commissioner is speaking.
I apologize.
I mean, to me, this is a nightclub. It's open till 2 a.m. It's a bar. You're going to have live music. It's a nightclub. And that is one of the largest residential apartment developments in the state that is right across the street from this. And there were a lot of histories of a lot of traffic issues, a lot of drunk driving issues, a lot of disturbances. The neighboring businesses complained regularly about people, you can have them leave your bar and you can get them off your property, but what are you going to do about the people that go off into the other parking lots and create disturbances and trash and problems for the other business owners? I mean, we had a lot of issues up there, and, I understand you're going to have a security plan, and I understand, but you can't walk down the entire length of the street and make sure that they can leave your property, but are they going to leave the area and go to where they're supposed to go? Or are we going to have congregating again and things? And, I think your business is great. I'm not dogging on your business, but this location is just really unique. That street is very tight. It is typically parked on both sides of the road already. I noticed there was something in here stating that people would have to park on your property. I don't know how you're going to monitor whether your patrons are parking on Anton. I don't know how you're going to have food trucks in there, and now you're not going to have 85 parking spaces anymore. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about how you can control the impact to the neighbors and the children that are going to be in the apartments across the street trying to sleep. Absolutely. When people are outside with the loud music in their cars, and those are the things that are realistic when it comes to this.
No, and we do recognize all the challenges, and we agree with you with the potential issues that we might bring to the neighborhood. And there is a variety of different ways that we can actually control and monitor that. And part of that will, it's stated in our security plan, and that will actually, part of our security plan will include someone monitoring the parking lot. We also spoke to New Fountain's manager, and we came to an agreement that if we were allowed to do business in this building, we will work with them closely and regularly to hire a towing company to monitor their space and to make sure that we're not becoming an issue for their small community. So we have all these ideas and all these systems in place to avoid all those issues. So we're not here to disagree with you on the potential issues. We're here to prove to you that we do have a plan, and we are willing to work with everybody around us because we don't want to jeopardize our investment as well. We will, we are very interested in continuing to be successful in what we do.
So can I please, can I just finish and ask one more question, and I promise I'll be quiet. So Deanna, when we do a conditional use permit, it goes with the property. It doesn't go with the owners, right?
Yes, that is true.
If they were to decide they didn't want it, the conditional use would still exist for whoever would buy the property. Is that correct?
Or rent the property, as long as they were willing to be consistent with that conditional use permit, right? So if they wanted to change their hours or they wanted to have a different use included, then we would ask them to come back for a new conditional use.
Right.
So as long as the next property owner or the next business was willing to remain consistent with the conditional use permit that was granted, a new conditional permit is not needed.
Okay, I'm sorry I lied. I'm going to say one more quick thing, and then I promise I'll be quiet. So since the police chief is on, the other thing that I want to talk about is the fact that, Fitchburg is 16 square miles or 36 square miles as a township?
36, yeah.
It is a very large area, and due to police staffing, I don't want to add a business that's going to create a burden where they're down at the corner of MM and 14 and they have to get up to Anton Drive for calls on a regular basis because we just don't have the broad enough coverage and staffing to have a lot of, I think people would be surprised if they knew how many officers are on the night shifts. And I know we have a supervisor because we added that to the budget a few years ago, but, I want to make sure that we get off on the right foot from the very beginning so that we don't create problems for our public safety workers.
Yeah, to that end, I was going to ask Chief Morales if you could comment a little bit about his conversation with the applicant and, in his opinion, and you have pretty extensive experience outside of Fitchburg as well, so if you have kind of an assessment of what you think about this particular project.
Yes, thank you. I'll try to be brief. I'll start off with the security plan, and then I'm going to express some concerns just with staffing, as stated already. And then Captain McCarthy can speak as far as other venues and the challenges we have at 2:00 p.m. with staffing and dealing with capacity limits in venues if something were to happen. As far as the security plan, looks good with the exception of the number of security personnel. You're looking at 250 patrons, and the security ratio is 10-1. That sounds very good on paper. That I think it'll be very difficult to maintain. In addition to that, we did ask about the security team they'd be utilizing. They did not have a name of the security team, but they stated that the team consisted of former police officers from Mexico. I question that as far as having a team from another country, the rules of engagement would change. Training could be an issue and best practices. Not saying anything negatively, but security agencies, whether in the state or in the nation, do have best practices that they often have to follow. So I question that. The other piece is the concern, again, the viewing of whether we want to call it a nighttime or a nightclub or a tavern setting, having a capacity of 200 to 150 is a big challenge at 2:00 in the morning. The Fitchburg Police Department has already indicated we're over 34, 36 square miles of geography. We're fastly growing, and the city has not been able to maintain its police or security staffing for the city, let alone one venue. We are currently on the night shift at around this time. Our minimum staffing numbers would be 4 officers and 1 sergeant. And with those capacities, if something were to happen, it would require a mutual aid response. And mutual aid response would be only required for emergencies. We don't want to overutilize mutual aid. We can utilize mutual aid for, let's just say, a disturbance with multiple people out there. Other cities may start to question the mutual aid agreement, and we wouldn't want to have that. We currently are having are going to be involved in a discussion with another venue that on average, the maximum capacities, although on paper are higher than potentially 100, we've had issues with patrons with 40 patrons at that venue, and that has caused a huge lift on us at that scene when they've had issues out in the parking lot or within the tavern as they're moving people out. We don't have the staffing, plain and simple. The idea, although great, we as the law enforcement entity to be responsible for the entire city don't have the capacity to own to deal with a venue like that and own it if problems were to arise. So those are just my concerns, my challenges. Captain McCarthy, who had worked the nights here for several years, can speak on behalf of other venues where there have been issues. If we talk about a crime scene, you will utilize at a setting like this a number of officers to separate witnesses, and a crime scene would result in a serious felony. A crime scene can be for misdemeanor, but in an event like this where somebody is seriously hurt, witnesses need to be interviewed. As I stated with our capacity, how are we going to engage a double-digit number of patrons with only 5 people, 4 officers and a sergeant? So,
everyone. So, the hall and downstairs. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I would like to call to order and reconvene the Plan Commission meeting from May 21st, 2024. Reconvening now on May 23rd at 6:30. When we last left off on Tuesday, we were at agenda item 5C. For tonight's agenda, that is 5A, conditional use CU 2539-24. A request by Oscar, agent for Mad Power Training, to obtain amusement and recreation services, drinking places, and restaurant conditional use to operate an event space, and as well a potential restaurant located in property associated with 5264 Anton Drive. We had already heard from the applicant on Tuesday night. We were abruptly cut off due to the tornado warning while Chief Morales was giving his kind of state of the property and previous issues. So with that, we'll reconvene with commissioners' comments and questions. And if I may actually just cut to the chase, as one person, to me it's a done deal. I will not support anything until 2 a.m. So I would be interested in who else on this commission is in that same boat, because that may expedite our procedure here tonight.
Me too. I am not going to support it until 2 a.m.
Same. That's at minimum my sense as well.
Okay. So to at least get to that point of the conditional uses as written by staff, point that out that it would be Friday and Saturday nights until 12. If that is still within the realm of possibility for the applicant, we'll continue. If not, then I would say that's kind of what we're willing to vote on here tonight. I don't want to have this whole long, drawn-out conversation if that's the linchpin that we end up saying no to anyway.
Yeah, could I ask the applicant to comment on if that's a... Oh, you're just discussing? Okay, got it. You come to the mic.
Yes, we would like to hear a little bit more about what the terms will be and the conditions for midnight and get more details on that.
Okay. So then, proceeding forward with other conditions or questions from the commissioners.
Okay. Sorry. So I don't know which page is in the package. I think it was in 20. I don't know. They changed now the package. Okay. It was in 223. There was a site floor for the layout of the kitchen. I don't know where is that one now. Let me see if I found it. Okay, so it's on page 16 in the package. So the question is, I want to ask is, I have some question about the site floor, because in that site floor, it doesn't mention where the restaurant is going to be located and how many space it's going to occupy and where the table and the chair are going to be in that site, So I want to understand how will impact the gathering of people, because it doesn't show here anything. And my other thing is, I'm going to approve this conditional use only if the kitchen starts the first day that you open the doors. You know what I mean? So I want to be honest, candid with you. I already have that communication with you.
Yeah.
But I don't see in this site plan where is the restaurant is going to be located and how much it's going to occupy of this space.
Yeah, so the plans that you are...
Can you put this, 1 second, can you put the site on the...
I'm not sure which one you were looking at, but I can...
I don't know, because the package have changed. I don't know. Is the 40... is that one, yes. Can you make it bigger? I don't know, because they're...
Yep.
So if I may explain, when it comes down to the plans that you have received from us, there is going to be 3 versions of what you're looking at right now. This one was an explanation for some of the comments the council had in the past visits regarding the small room that is located on the area number 1. And that's where the main floor will be for the restaurant, so that's where the tables will be. If you notice to the other side, you'll see the bar along right there. And so, the front entrance, so that will be occupied with seating tables right there. That plan was not required, so we didn't include it in the plan, but we do have those plans available with the table layout.
Yeah, because I am curious because, the capacity for that location is 250. You add chairs and table, and I would like to know, because one of the conditional use here is, in the requirement is that, the full kitchen should be operational, and also the restaurant has to be operational the first day that you open the doors. So it's not like, you are going to open the nightclub, and then you're going to, because the future kitchen is coming, because this is what I am confused. I am reading this application, and there is like a future restaurant is going to come, and I want to understand how are you planning to incorporate the restaurant, how many tables, how many people are going to sit, because that one is going to impact the space for gathering and dancing floor.
Correct. So the tables, like I said, will occupy the space number 1 in your layout, and the capacity logically will be impacted by the number of tables that we're going to add for the restaurant, and that will actually be less than 250. The 250 capacity that was previously already approved by the commission for the previous tenant, which was the Vine, was 250 for music and live events. And that's a bigger capacity because obviously people are not sitting, so you're able to occupy the building with more bodies, if you will. Once we have the tables for the regular restaurant, seating will be probably probably 90% less of, or 50% of the 250. So seating, when it comes down to capacity, we're not planning to have more than 150 people in there. Obviously, tables will occupy, bigger space, and that in terms will diminish the amount of people that you can possibly keep in the building, if that makes sense. And to answer your question about the kitchen, I think that some of the terms that were used in the beginning on our license have been used by the commission in a certain way that explain that we are in the future planning on it. But our plans and on our business plan, the kitchen has always been part of our opening. And I understand what the confusion will be, but the kitchen and the table service has always been part of our plan.
Well, maybe we need to clarify some of the information in the package because it's confusing. Some of the packages say that it's going to be a future, kitchen or possible, and that word is there, and I haven't seen any document that say that, you're planning to start, with a full restaurant the day one. So.
Yes, ma'am. And with all due respect, I am clarifying. We are, in fact, planning on having a full kitchen, operational kitchen from day one.
Can I maybe just ask a general question of my fellow councilors? So at this point, are we considering all of the conditions as stated by staff as being the implementation that we're considering at this point? Is that fair to say?
Well, I would maybe suggest tweaking it a little, but
okay.
But
it sounds like at minimum we're looking to have all of these things as riders to any potential approval of this request, with some slight revision, right?
I don't know if we approve it. I don't know. Can I ask another question, Steven? So you mentioned about the ballet, that you are planning to hire a company and then find a place, or a parking lot close to Anton Drive. Do you know where is going to be that place? Do you have any idea?
Well, ma'am, based on, the council decision to strike the 2 a.m. Allowance for closing, I don't think that will be necessary because we will not need that many extra parking spots for more than 150 people, 200 people at any point in time. We visit the location which was run by the Vine for the special events and live music, and for one of their last events, and we personally counted the amount of people that were there, and there were up to 250 people. We remained there for the duration of the event, and they did not have one single problem with parking. There was no parking on the streets. At the end of the event, there was no problems with traffic. And so we recognize that if we were to open directly as a restaurant, we will not need more than the spaces that we have available at the moment.
What about the nights that you're open until 12 o'clock? Suppose that all the 250 people show up for dancing until 12 o'clock.
I believe that concept will not work for the demographics that we are, trying to serve. And so I believe that the Latino nights and some other nights, when it comes down to modifying the space for those special events, will not require any of the modifications or special, planning that we have.
I'm not sure I understood. Are you saying that you are not interested in having the Latin nights then if the time goes down to midnight?
So we have been running this event at Worleby for over 6 years. Fridays and Saturday nights until 2 a.m., from 11 p.m. until 2 a.m. And we rapidly learned that the Latino community, at least our demographics and the customers that we have, in a pattern over 6 years, we never saw the event start any earlier than 11 p.m. So if we were to only be allowed to run the event until midnight, it will be only 1 hour that these people will be able, or this customer or guest will be able to enjoy that specific event. And if that was to be the case, then I strongly believe that our guests or our demographics will choose a different venue, which we listed, a number of them in the region or in the area that are hosting the events until 2 a.m. So we will become a non-option when it comes down to that event.
But for this perspective, if somebody came to you looking for a special event or a wedding or something like that, and they were comfortable with it ending at midnight, since that's pretty customary for some of these, you'd still be able to entertain an event like that up to 250 people. So you're not removing that capacity off the table just for that one series that you're talking about.
Correct. That just for the one specific event, which is the Latino nights yes, which will be Friday.
But
and
other
Saturday.
special events or things that would fall under here, you're still
Correct.
anticipate a 250 person capacity, even with the proposed redesigns to the kitchen and the breakups of the rooms. That would still be a capacity you would anticipate being able to support.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. In between our parking spaces and the Latino Chamber of Commerce, we have available up to 240, 250 people in average.
And in these stipulations, it talks about having a safe pedestrian passageway between those two parking lots. Is that something that you'd be prepared to establish? Because I notice now there isn't a walkway, I don't believe, between the two of them.
Yes, we have had some communications with Latino Chamber of Commerce, Javier, and he's very open to continue to talk about joining those two spaces in some way or manner.
Okay.
So we will definitely be more than happy to continue that communication with them. The Latino Chamber of Commerce will definitely be a huge part of our operation in one way or another, based on our talks with Javier, and we will be more than happy to continue that communication with them.
So it seems like without the Latin nights, that changes your business plan a lot. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to set you up to fail if your business plan is really conditioned on those Latin nights.
Latin nights have been a saving grace for our previous business for many years. The revenue stream that it generates is a great part of how we pay our bills, how we pay our taxes, how we support up to 40 to 50 employees, and so it is definitely one of the biggest parts of our business model. So it will definitely affect our business in a negative way.
Then can I ask, wouldn't you want to find a better location that allows for 2 a.m.? Because there's other places that are similar kinds of setup, similar size of buildings, and would allow for your business plan to be fluid.
As I stated before, we're serious business people, and we have a word. We approached Bill for the building because that was the first building that we found in the city that we fell in love with. Not only for the layout, everything about the building itself, was the main attraction. And we had an understanding with him. We had found since then, a few other venues that we are interested in, and actually right now talking to other business owners with similar buildings around the area. And so the reason why we are so adamant about, proving ourselves to the city is because we do have a commitment with the building owner, and we are going to follow through till the end.
So I have a question again, please. So if you could clarify for me, I think I got a little lost in the conversation about when you transition from being a restaurant into being an event venue into being a bar or whatever, are you going to serve a full menu of food from 4 p.m. to a certain time where families can go there just for dinner if they're not interested in the live music or any of the events or the fact that it's a bar now and a restaurant? I mean, I want to understand how you're going to have enough table service in there to make a restaurant business work. And then you're going to move all of that to have the dancing, is that right? And then are you not going to be serving food during your nightly events?
Yeah, so at World of Beer, we had a system in place where, once 9:30, 10 p.m. will come around and we were getting ready to host our line nights. There was a group of people that will come in that were designated at 9:30, 10 p.m. and recondition the business layout to accommodate the special event. In this specific building, it will actually be a lot easier for us to manage that change of face of the business, if you will. And so, yeah, it's not an impossible task for us to change the design of the building within 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the needs or the demographics or the special events that we have.
Would you stop serving food? Would you stop table service then at a certain time?
No. We will continue to have a late night menu.
And have table service at that time. Are you moving all of the tables out to have room for the 250?
No. Those are protocols or specific ways of doing it that we would actually learn a lot more specific details of exactly how we're going to do it once we were to have or be in the building with the design that we wanted to implement. But table seating will remain. The tables will not be completely taken off out of the building. There will be seating space for our guests no matter what event we're hosting or what time of the night or the day we're doing business at. The layout of the tables will be different based on the event.
But if you're having a live music event, then it would be required to pay admission to get in, correct? Or have a ticket
that is correct.
To get in. So it ceases to become a restaurant once that time hits. So like if the concert's at 8, then the restaurant's in operation from 4 to 8, and then you are a bar and a venue from 8 until 2 a.m.?
No, ma'am. It'll morph into a dual event.
So people would be able to come in, get a table, sit, and eat dinner, and not have to pay
Correct.
To come in
and
to
then,
see the music?
And yes, ma'am. And another thing that we learned over the years is, the patterns of when people actually eat dinner. 9 p.m., 10 o'clock, the need or the customer's necessities or what they're asking, it changes radically. So after 10 p.m., rarely anyone will require food or ask for food, but the food will continue to remain available.
Thank you.
Steve?
Yes.
On the conditions, one of the conditions is no more than 4 events a month. I mean, I know number 8 we were striking because of the word nearing. So I'm wondering, are we striking that whole thing so there's no limit as to how many large events a month? If there is someplace else in these conditions, and I'm sorry, I can't.
I would say otherwise you could rewrite it to be more,
Well, yeah.
Right, because there isn't anything else. So you're right. If it does get stricken, then there is nothing that refers to number of large events per month. But I would just, if we're going to keep something like that, I would just prefer to rewrite it.
Right.
So something like events that exceed 225 individuals or something like that, where we're actually putting a hard limit on if this crosses 225, we'd like to only see 4 of those a month kind of thing.
Right, I agree with that. My point is I would not mind more than 4. I mean, right now the conditional use is 6. I don't know why we would go down to 4. And
I think that probably went with the 2 a.m. piece. So I think if we're taking away the 2 a.m. piece, then I think it is fair to go back to the hours that were there before and the number of events that were there before. So do we want to change the language on number 8 to 6 events a month that would be more than 225 individuals?
Would anybody entertain more than 6? I mean, so you cover all the weekends?
Yeah, I would lean that way too. Just because if they have 2 nights every week and they have a plan to have valet to make sure that they stay in the parking lot, I feel like I don't want to control. I mean, I do. If they're going to build this business, I want them to be successful. So, and they can't do the 2 a.m. events. So,
and if I may add, I was prepared to present the council with a proposal in terms of approving, our license. And, in conclusion, we were aware that approving our community to run a safe and responsible business will bring fun entertainment to a neighbor that currently is lacking. This is an uphill battle on our end. All we are asking for is you to grant us the opportunity to prove this to you, and as such, we would like to propose, some conditions for approval. So, the two conditions. Condition number 1, to allow for temporary Fridays and Saturdays hours of operation that we have requested. This condition will be subject to regular reviews with the city or the police department. We'll provide a quarterly report of ongoing security plans and communications efforts between us and our neighbors, including the surrounding businesses and the new Fountains apartment complex. Number 2, as the second condition, to maybe implement a 3-strike policy, where if 3 substantial issues arise from our establishment, the city may review our Fridays and Saturdays operations, potentially changing our allowed hours to operation and our ability to host the lighting nights. So that was something that I hope that you all are willing to at least put 2 seconds to think about.
I have no interest in going past 2 a.m., no matter what the conditions are, or past 12, yes.
I'm not as attached to it. Given like if we have conditions where we can go back, if it doesn't work out, we have an ability to reevaluate. And the conditional use is only for a year. They have a good record in Middleton, and they have a plan. I'm open to it. I guess I'm not as hard on the midnight as some of the other commissioners.
Yeah. It's not like I am not opposed to the establishment or your business model, but not in that location. So I am not going to approve whatever the conditions are, because the city is working very hard to rehab that area of the city. We are working with the Healthy Neighborhood Initiative to improve the condition of the areas. We don't have the police capacity to allocate more police in that area, especially until 2 o'clock in the morning. I am already having a lot of issue with another establishment open at 2 o'clock in the morning in the city of Fitchburg right now. They're very close to this Anton Drive. And I am considering about if we need to have in the city 2 o'clock, any liquor license open until 2 o'clock in the morning. I am considering that because I am having so many trouble with another one. So it's not that, I hope you understand from where I'm coming. As a mayor, I am looking for the safety of the city. And I don't think that this is the perfect condition for this establishment. If you find another place in the city where we have better lights, better access, better traffic, I know that area pretty well, and it's going to be an issue with traffic. There are already car parks in the two sides of the road right now. And I am looking at the big picture here, and I hope you understand from where I am coming. I already know the history of the previous establishment there. So And it doesn't mean that you guys can run a very good establishment professionally. I am not disputing that. I am saying is that establishment in that location is not the best place for that type of establishment. That's it.
I think I'm with Gabriella that I question if there's a big difference between midnight and 2 o'clock. I mean, if the bad things that you're worried about happening seem to me could happen just as easily at midnight as it would at 2 o'clock. So I'm trying to get the understand.
No, I hope you understand where I come. My position is that establishment in that location is not the perfect time for that location, period.
And I think if you just look around town, like for instance, Thirsty Goat was the closest. I know you guys kind of gave in your application of, the Tavern Akaya. I think that's night and day from the location, the type of restaurant you're running, everything else. Thirsty Goat, on the other hand, has residential across the street from it. But however, it's not Anton Drive. It's Fish Hatchery, 6 lanes, and they are open till midnight. It's a very similar business model. They brew their own beer, they serve a lot of liquor and beer, and they have full menu service. Very similar to what we're hearing here. They're midnight. Almost every restaurant in this city that does restaurant and beer and or live music, dancing, anything else is midnight. There's only like 2, I think, that I know of that have a 2 a.m. or past midnight. I think one is Seminole Tap. I think they're 1 o'clock on the weekends, and then Monkey Shines is 2 o'clock.
What? So
or Tom McCoy might be the 3rd. I mean, we're talking about places that it's just very different than
Take 5. I mean, I'm surprised. I thought most places with a bar license were open till 2. What about Rusty B? What's their closing time going to be? The new place on Sherrill, which talk about congested traffic, is Sherrill Drive, but we've got a bar opening there. I mean, obviously a lot smaller, I understand.
And that is under smart code, and it works a little bit different. So we don't issue a conditional use permit.
No, I know that. I was just wondering. Yeah. It is,
and I don't know the timing for that. I'm only aware, and we did. The mayor and the clerk asked me to take a look at what we have in the city. There's only one conditional use that we have in our files that is open to 2 a.m., and that is Seminole Tap. I do think they close sooner than 2 a.m., but we did issue a conditional use permit for that. And then Monkey Shines could not find any paperwork. Clearly, they are open till 2 a.m. So it's not common in the city.
If I may add, if we're talking about traffic issues, the current events are happening in between 7 and midnight, which is an earlier time where it's obviously more traffic flow around that time, as opposed to 11 till 2 a.m., where there is obviously a lot less traffic around that time. And so when it comes down to traffic issues, I don't believe that we will create a bigger issue than it is at the moment. In terms of the hours of operation, if you think a little bit more about the allowance that we're asking for, will be from 11 stop serving liquor at 1:30, 1:45. That gives us about 2 hours and a half of drinking or dancing.
And the current negotiation.
I haven't.
I'm sorry.
And I haven't finished.
We're not having this negotiation. You've made your point. We appreciate it, but we need to decide as a commission. Typically, I'm giving you a lot of leeway. Typically, once an applicant presents their application,
I am being interrupted middle of my sentence.
You are applying to a commission.
Okay.
You are not no. Sorry. Continue on.
I mean, I got to say, I do anything that's going to start at 11 or 12 is going to feel a lot different than something that's going to end at midnight, right? I don't. Something that ends at bar time is going to feel different. You may not feel like you're going to influence that street from a traffic perspective. It's parked on both sides every single time. And so I can appreciate that the traffic flow might not be there. The accessibility, the congestion, and everything else, it's going to remain. And I'll be honest, even the situations we've talked about here, Seminole Tap, there's so much more buffer to those residential neighborhoods. We're talking about a 2-lane street with a bunch of families across the street. And so for me, that's a non-starter for something going past midnight. I fully appreciate a need for this type of business and the desire to do this. but I am with others on this council when I say it needs to be somewhere else. I'll be honest. I would love to see this business succeed in kind of the different type of model that we're talking through here. And I don't know, that's where I'll leave it, I guess.
And I think that's the whole purpose and beauty of conditional uses is, any particular business you can pick up and plop down, in 15 different places, and it makes sense in 14 of them maybe and not in the 15th. And it's done for a reason. If let's say you've got a business district that's, 16 square acres or whatever, and maybe it doesn't belong on the end. Maybe we don't want it on the end because it's across the street from the apartment buildings. But maybe in the middle it would be fine and we'd figure out a way to make the traffic work. I just think I agree with Julia, this is in the wrong place. It's a fragile neighborhood. It's a family-oriented neighborhood. There are a ton of families that live in that apartment complex. It's one of the biggest ones in the state. And it's just not the right location. I think, 12 o'clock, I don't even really like. 2 a.m., there's no way I would vote for it. And I don't even think giving it a trial period makes sense. I mean, there's 16 conditions already. We probably need to change at least 4 of them. And I'm just not convinced that this is a solid plan that's ready to go. I'm not clear still on whether this is really a restaurant, and that's why it's a benefit for the neighborhood, or whether it's a venue. And I'm not saying I don't like venues. I like to go listen to live music too. But it's not at Greenway in Middleton where there's huge parking lots and big streets with great access and no neighbors nearby. And it's not in downtown Madison, and it's the location that's the problem. And I don't think this is an appropriate conditional use for that particular location. I have no problem with the business owner. I have no problem with the business model. This is just the wrong place for that model.
So it sounds like there's not support for going to 2 a.m. So I think we should maybe talk about the conditions that exist, and if we're willing, I would propose that we strike number 8, given that it's only going to midnight, allow the applicant and the business to run events at their discretion. And I can make a motion to that end, but if we want to discuss other conditional uses changes, other condition changes before we make the motion.
Do we want to start in numerical order? I guess we're already talking about 8, so.
Sure.
Can I just ask one question around, honestly, all of them and enforcement, in the fact that, there's a lot of riders on this if we get through this, right? And they rely on police and fire, they rely on building inspection, they rely on city staff following up. I don't even know how many people are going to be involved in implementing this. Does the city feel prepared to meet these accommodations and feel like we can make this work with a rough, even if we get close to what we have here?
Yes, I think the conditions are workable. Of course, to be clear, staff is not going to be out every evening counting or checking to make sure they close at 12:01 or something. I mean, this is more, the conditions exist more to address any problems that come up.
I would continue with that thought of because I'd like to get to a motion here. And so if we're not at a place of motion now, let's get it to a place where we can at least feel comfortable to have a motion.
I move to deny of conditional use CU-2539-24.
Do I have a second?
I'm sorry, I missed it. Were you moving to approve?
It was movement to deny the conditional use.
Further deny.
Sorry, do we have to deny it to discuss the other conditions, or we're just flat out denying it at this point?
Yeah,
this would be calling for a vote.
I am calling for the vote.
If there is no second, that the motion fails.
I'll move approval of conditional use permit 253924 with 15 conditions outlined by staff, striking number 8.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Are there any friendly amendments to that motion?
Yes. Sorry, I would like to amend number 4 to have language put in it that says that the full kitchen will be completely in place and inspected prior to occupancy of the business as a condition.
Do you want to
That was a
retain?
motion. Do I have a second on that?
Sorry, do you want to retain the all other activities will be second, or do you want to just completely replace with that?
Well, I think I don't know. You're right. I mean, it's supposed to be secondary to the restaurant operations, but it doesn't sound like it is because it's not the driver.
Right. I
It's
would like
not
to see
the driver
both,
of the
honestly. I would
business.
like to see that the full kitchen has to be in place before occupancy is granted, and that other event and activities shall be secondary to restaurant operations.
Yes, I leave it all in there.
Is there public comment on this?
No, we are in a vote. Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second for that friendly amendment? So Carol made the motion to.
Yeah, I'll take it as a friendly amendment. It sounds like, I don't know if we need to take a vote on it. Sounds.
I'll make a
Okay,
motion.
you're fine with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
If my person that seconded is okay.
Yes. Any other motions to change? Otherwise, I'll call for a vote.
What did we do with 8 specifically?
It was stricken.
So it's completely, so 8 is stricken, 4 is amended, number 10 is in place with midnight.
Yes.
Are we doing 10 p.m. on the other nights?
Yes.
So that's going to stay as is. Let's talk about 14 maybe a little bit. Can we, I guess I don't feel like we got through discussing the amendments, but who's going to determine whether they're excessive police calls or not?
And what is excessive?
Right, what's excessive?
Wouldn't that be us?
No.
It sounds like it's at the request of
Sounds
the
like
Fitchburg
it needs
Police
to be.
Chief.
But don't they request and then we
Yeah.
would revoke the
Okay,
conditional use?
I can jump in there. My thinking on this, and you can take it or leave it. My thinking on this was that the police chief would initiate a call to the planning department to say, hey, we have some issues. There's been a lot of police calls. And if that seems to be that we can definitely prove excessive police calls, then we, the staff, could initiate the process to revoke the conditional use permit. That would be an action that the Plan Commission would need to do with the proof before you.
Would that revoke the entire conditional use or just the, parts of it? It would take the whole thing out?
Yes. There's only one conditional use, and it could be revoked by Plan Commission.
Thank you for explaining. Do we need?
Can I recommend one addition of that there has to be a sidewalk established between the 2 parking lots so that there is safe pedestrian access?
I don't think I put that in there.
I don't really want people walking down that
Property
street.
owner to take action.
Sorry, Zach, say that again.
I don't think we can require the other property owner to take action.
So then maybe the language, I mean, it feels like there's like a letter of support or some type of agreement here, and that is part of what's dependent on the idea that we're going to have this many events and not have people parking on the street. So I don't know. I'm not super comfortable with that being, an agreement like that being struck, and then the idea that people are going to be walking across the property or walking down that narrow street at night, what have you. So my concern there is safety, honestly. I don't know how people want to deal with that.
Would you take that as a friendly amendment to add a 16th condition, given that 8 was stricken? For some, we have to work out the language on that if we are going to add it.
Yeah, does staff have a recommendation on that? I think Zach's point of it hard to require something happening on another property.
I was just saying you have this arrangement with the Latino Chamber of Commerce to park your, people's cars there. There must be some kind of an operating agreement. I'm not saying you have to spend all the money to put it in concrete, but there's something. I agree that keeps people from going up to Anton Drive and back around into the park.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. In the winter, and like the things that come with that.
Yeah.
I mean, right? I don't know what that looks like, but if this is part of the agreement, then I feel like we have to make sure that it's implemented in a safe way.
If I may aid on this point, there is already an existing path behind the building, the Chamber of Commerce. Because we inspect the back of the building right on where the signage is.
But their parking lot's on the other side of their building, isn't it?
Yeah, and so closer to the highway, in between the sign, the door and there was the main entrance door. If you're looking at the building facing how I'm facing it right now, the last stall, if you go around it by the handicap stall, there's already a path. You can see it there. And then that could be cleaned out, and that could actually be reconditioned to be a safe path. From that, we could actually develop that area with the Chamber of Commerce approval. So we have already spoke to them about that, and we have already started the plans with our developer, construction developer, to look into that if that was going to be necessary.
So something like applicant will continue to work with Latino Chamber of Commerce to make safe passage between the two parking lots? I don't know if that's the right way to word it, but something to that effect.
Possibly a signed shared agreement or something like that.
Does the Chamber of Commerce actually own that building, or is it being leased?
They do.
They do own it.
Okay.
I mean, I think some operational agreement would be nice to have to implement that and make sure that there's going to be safe passage for pedestrians between those two parking situations.
Yeah, I could maybe suggest that the applicant will continue to work with the Latino Chamber of Commerce on a shared parking agreement that would include a sidewalk connection, a safe sidewalk connection.
Thank you.
I'll take it as a friendly amendment.
Okay.
I'm sorry to go backwards, but on number 4, when we talk about event activities shall be secondary to the restaurant, exactly what does that mean?
I can give you my thoughts. So the previous conditional use for Mad Power was based on that the events would be secondary to the fitness facility. And so it just means that in terms of the hours of operation, the overall business operations, that the events were secondary. And so I continued that same thing.
So if they have food service throughout their hours, then they would meet this? I mean, again, I don't want to set them up to fail.
It's more so that you're not, having club activity and then, we also serve pretzels or something, right? It's more so a restaurant that also has live events. I think that's the way I read it.
Okay.
Right.
So we're clear and they're clear, because this will be enforced against them, so.
So we have a motion from Gabriella. Did I have a second?
Yes, you did.
Shelley seconded?
The major, yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So we've had those friendly amendments. It was to approve conditional use permit with the 15 conditions noted by staff once 8 was stricken, an additional 16th condition, which we just talked through, which provided the parking, and an amendment to number 4, which is to have kitchen in place and inspected before occupancy. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Shelley?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Mayor? Gabriella?
Aye.
Josh?
Aye.
Carol?
No.
Zach?
Aye.
That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
Moving on then to 5B and C, rezone request RZ 254624 to rezone property from PDD SIP to residential, low to medium density residential to allow for residential development on property located off Oak Meadow Drive, and preliminary plat request PP 2547-24 to create a preliminary plat to create 13 parcels, including 11 buildable lots on property located off Oak Meadow Drive. We have John Thompson or Jane Bartell to come up and speak. Or
oh, do you want to do the
sure.
public hearing first?
I will open the public hearing. Don't we usually have them give a presentation first, I thought?
Usually we do.
I would prefer to have the applicant explain what they're looking to do before we have anyone kind of comment on it personally. I think it's best to have, yeah, we will open public comment once you give your presentation. Thank you.
Introduce yourself to start. Go ahead.
Hello. I have owned this piece of property starting almost 20 years ago. And on part of that property, we built the Noble Ridge condominiums in 2 stages. And the first stage was 22 units. Second stage was 8. It turned out to be a very money-losing operation, mainly because they had to be sold in the vicinity of 2008. And so we decided to not build condominiums anymore. And it's been sitting there for 10 years, paying taxes on it and mowing the grass and plowing the snow. So in my mind, the best thing to do with this piece of property was to make it become a residential home ownership parcel. So that's all we're trying to divest ourselves of this property and make it used something like what's already in the area, where it'd be compatible with the homeowners and the condominium owners, and that's the extent of it.
And I'm Chris Dawson with JSC, helping out with John here. This is a follow-up to the previous amendment, the minor comp plan amendment that was seen a few months back now, I guess, when those were last entertained. Following that approval, you have the application in front of you for the formal rezoning to low to medium density housing for 11 residential lots and 2 outlots. Short and sweet, I suppose, for now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Then I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on this? Either the rezone or the final preliminary plat request? Yes, come on up. If you want to sit over here, there's a microphone for you. If you could just state your name and address, please.
My name is Amy Esch, and my address is 2621 South Fish Hatchery Road. This property backs onto my property. So the main concerns that I had were what was exactly going to be done with the stormwater mitigation area that is in between the proposed development and our current property, because that area has been left to go completely wild, and it is filled with invasives that continue to encroach upon our property, and there has not been any maintenance of that area for 20 years. When my son was 2, he was able to stand at the edge of our property and look out across an empty cornfield, and now there are trees that are 30 feet tall and vines all throughout the whole entire mess of it. So that's concern number 1. And concern number 2 is on the corner, just down the road from the 2 condos that are there. That is where part of the original farm was. and there are some extremely large shade trees. It's a very park-like area, and I see that 3 houses are planning on going in there, and my hope was only that even if some of the trees are not necessarily considered heritage trees, that they would be considered valuable because of their size and because of the ability to shade. I know a lot of the areas around here have very, very small trees, and no one gets benefits from those except for the birds. The people don't get benefits from those for 50 some odd years, and a lot of those trees that are currently there are probably close to 100 because they've been there since before the farm was ever taken away. So that was basically it.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak on this? And I will close the public hearing. Staff, would you please give a report?
Yes. The applicants are proposing to rezone the property and do a preliminary plat to allow for 11 single-family homes. The lots will range in size from approximately 1/5 of an acre to 1/4 of an acre. And given that this proposal is consistent with the standards of RLM, low to medium density residential, the properties do not require ADR approval or any other site design. There are 2 lots included in the proposal. Outlot 1 is proposed for stormwater management. Outlot 2, which is to the east, is reserved for future development. The applicants included this at the staff's request to accommodate the possibility for future redevelopment down the road along Fish Hatchery. The site does include a variety of mature trees. Due to the city's newly enacted tree preservation ordinance, a tree preservation plan for all the desirable trees is required for new preliminary plats. A survey was provided and included in your packet. It was reviewed by the city forester. In that review, the city forester verified that there were no desirable trees. And so that has a very specific definition in the ordinance. Desirable trees include oak, hickory, hackberry, white pine, sugar maple, honey locust, and basswood, exceeding 6 inches in diameter. The predominant trees on the site include box elder, mulberry, ash, and elm. Therefore, a tree preservation plan is not required by the ordinance for this development. The applicants state that this property does not fall within the bounds of the Oak Meadow neighborhood plat and are not governed by the deed restrictions of Oak Meadow. Staff recommends approval of the rezone with 3 conditions, and then also approval of the preliminary plat with 17 conditions.
All right, thank you. Comments and questions?
Question about the property or the outlet that's left for future development. Does that remain? Who owns that, I guess, going forward? I know you're looking to divest of the property, but is that?
I own it now, and I would still own it.
So continue to own it. Yeah, and then in regards to the stormwater mitigation piece of the property, what are your plans for that?
To comply with the stormwater runoff regulations.
So as the land is prepared to...
Yeah, it's to be a conduit for excessive rainwater flowing downhill. It's all downhill.
So it'll be require. What does that look like? Does it require regrading? Would it include?
It's just leave it as it is, so that the foliage would slow down the rainwater going across it, but it'd be just like a waterway that I wouldn't own it forever because I'm not going to live there forever, but it would be either me or my descendants would own this piece of property.
Okay, so it's just for the recharge of the groundwater. It's not. There's no
Yeah.
facility on the.
There's a retention pond down the hill from it.
Okay.
And that provides regional treatment, but we still need to adhere to infiltration requirements. And then we also have to meet a volumetric storage difference between the 200-year event and the 100-year storm event. So that regional pond provides a degree of stormwater treatment, but we have to go a little bit above that for this development.
Is there any plans to remove the invasives that are on that piece of property?
No.
If they are outside the disturbance limits, they are intended to be left so that the property owners can choose how they would like to handle them.
Can you repeat that again?
So in order to serve the lots, we have to provide the sanitary sewer, just any public utilities that would serve a typical home, and then the drainage way at the rear of the properties that goes to that pond. All of the disturbance that happens to install that infrastructure, that would of course remove trees and brush and whatnot. But we, in the grading plan that we've provided, we have intentionally limited the disturbance to just that rather than mass grading all of the lots. And that's in an effort to allow the future property owners who buy those individual lots, they are able to dictate truly what happens with their landscape plan.
Okay, my question is regarding the, how we can maintain most of those trees, because, you can build, the lots are pretty big for a house, so maybe they can maintain some of those trees in the lot, and only remove the ones that are interfering with the construction. Could be that a possibility to consider, or,
That is the intent right now.
And how you are going to notify that to the future owners of the parcel, or it's going to be part of your contract when you sell the lot? Because, that one is your intention, but how do we know if the owner of those plots are going to decide to come and remove all the trees?
Well, what we're trying to provide them is with the most options for leaving trees in place. And they can put together their own building plans based on that, rather than just clear cutting everything and having a blank slate for them.
Oh, okay, so you're not going to do that. Okay, I get it.
Correct. No, we are not going to mass grade the entire parcel right now. Yeah.
So every homeowner will decide how to build the house around the street. Okay.
Other questions or comments? Others will take a motion.
I'll move approval of rezone RZ 2546-24 with the 3 conditions as noted by staff.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Second.
I'm sorry. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Second. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. That motion carries.
I'll move approval of preliminary plat PP-2547-24 with the 17 conditions as noted by staff.
Second.
Second by Gabrielle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is 5D, Certified Survey Map Request CS 2543-24 to create a certified survey map for the purpose of consolidating 2 existing lots into 1 buildable lot on property associated with 2735 Rimrock Road. Aisha, would you like to come up and present?
Thank you. So we submitted this request for the certified survey map so we could combine the 2 lots. A couple of months ago, our proposal for 20 homes, 8 single family and 12 townhomes was approved at the Common Council and Plan Commission. So we have moved forward to create that certified survey map and to consolidate our 2 lots into 1 property. We're hoping to discuss any open items with this, and also I think in one of the recommendation comments it was mentioned that we should change it to 18 units. And we've come down a long path of 18 months trying to work out a plan that worked with the city, worked with the neighbors. We went from 24 units and a daycare center down to 20 units based on staff recommendation, plan commission recommendation, and neighborhood desire. This is the first time after the application was submitted that we're looking at a reevaluation to 18 units. So we're hoping to discuss that today and kind of find a ground that works.
I have a question. What is this 18 units now?
I do see it's noted in the packet here, but should we have staff maybe talk about this quickly? Before
yes,
we...
please.
Yes. Yep. So this certified survey map will create one parcel from the two existing parcels. The current parcels are defined by meets and bounds, and the proposal before the proposed development will include townhomes and single-family homes. So this, of course, was changed from low-density residential to medium-density residential in the future land use map as a minor comp plan amendment. The staff notes that the CSM proposes to dedicate approximately 30 feet along Maloney Drive and Rimrock Road to be dedicated for public right-of-way purposes as part of the CSM. As such, the footprint or the area of the lot decreases to 2.048 acres, and the number of units is calculated by the lot size. So what is happening is that the county is requiring some additional right-of-way off of Rimrock. It's not unusual. We oftentimes do have to take right-of-way, especially on some older lots. And what that means is that it reduces their overall lot area and how we calculate the number of units allowable. So it works out to be right now, medium density residential is medium is 5 to 9, and so we're just over 2 acres, so that calculates out to 18. The county has also requested a vision corner at the intersection of Maloney and Rimrock. This will need to be shown on the CSM, but it should not adversely impact the development due to the placement of stormwater facilities at that southwest corner. Staff does recommend approval of the CSM with the 15 conditions.
Can you explain a vision corner?
Yes, the vision corner is not something dedicated as right-of-way, but vision corners are often shown on plats too. And the vision corners just say that there can't be any buildings or any structures or anything taller than usually 3 feet, so that turning traffic can see oncoming traffic.
Did we do public comment on this one?
Not yet.
Okay.
There is no, public hearing, but we do have a few people who wish to speak. So,
okay.
Diane, would you like to come up first? Okay.
Okay.
Harvey? No. Registration are only, I'm sorry. And then Matt wishes to speak. Come on up. You can use that.
Yeah,
speak in support.
Sorry, that was true for the first two. Speak in support? Or to register in support?
Yes. Harvey was registered in support, and Diane, you weren't clear. It wasn't clear in Diane's
okay.
if she was in support or in opposition.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm Matt Owensby. I'm speaking in support of the proposal for the 20 units, as has been discussed at the previous meetings. I live on 79 Maloney Drive, so directly across from this development, so it's going to be impacting me every day when I walk out of my house, so I have great interest. I would like to say, initially, as this all started 12 or so months ago, I was opposed to the development And one of the big criticisms was that the developers did not have neighborhood buy-in. The developers have had numerous meetings with the neighbors since that time and have had wide consensus of buy-in for their plan for the 20 units. And for the previous meetings, there was a packet submitted showing all the approvals from the neighborhood. And I am one of those individuals listed in there. One of the key caveats that the neighborhood was very passionate about was that there would not be any passageway easement to the north side property. We do not want that traffic coming down onto Maloney Drive. I live right there, so all that traffic would be pouring out in front of my house. I have a young daughter. She waits outside for the school bus. I'm concerned about all that traffic coming out and my future kids and obviously neighbors next to me and their families. So just having that increased passageway traffic coming down onto Maloney is not something that I am in favor of. I'm opposed to that. And I'd just like to reiterate my appreciation to the developers for hearing the neighborhood out. They have done their diligence in meeting with us, and I'd like to express my gratitude to each one of you guys for having these meetings, hearing the neighborhood out, hearing the development plans, and I'll just conclude with that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have David wishes to speak.
David Bamborough, I live on Rimrock Road. I'll make it short and simple. I agree with everything Matt said, and he has worked with us very well.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Oh, Diane, come on up.
And I live right next door to the property, so I would be the one affected. But these people have been most cooperative and helpful. Where I started out feeling negative about it, I now feel they will do a good job. And I really feel like we should give them the support that they need. And it's very nice that we're asked to this meeting because we never heard about the development, which was a little bit ridiculous. The gym and all that they're building right across from this, on Rimrock, right across from the land. And these people have been very good about trying to make sure that we are kept in tune. And I think we should give them all the support. The sidewalk and all of the property there is where people walk because there's not a sidewalk on the other side of the street. And we constantly have people walking from all of the buildings around. The one thing I want to say is this is a single-family home neighborhood and has been for many years, since I've lived there, which is over 40 years, and I knew the people whose land this was. It's very important that we keep this like it is, since it's just a very nice neighborhood. And the town of Madison, which I was originally part of, tried to cooperate when the farmer next to me sold the property, and it became the development in the city of Madison. The town of Madison actually put in and paved a ditch with a culvert under the driveway, my driveway, and then it ran down on the Maloney's property, whose this land originally belonged to, the water that came from up in the city development, which the city, in all of its wisdom, did not make them put in storm sewers, even though they were well above us. So it's very important that we keep Maloney, in good condition and keep it so that it goes down. And I think it's important that we allow these people to build and try to keep the level of traffic down some, although we do have plenty of traffic. If they add any more to it, I was hoping the 20 units, if they add any more to the, coming out of there, it would cause great traffic jams. So it's going to be hard anyway. But no, I really want to say that I appreciate their consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So can I just clarify, would we have to build some exemption to allow them to go to 20 on this lot then? 20 units?
It's not standard practice in what has been done. I did give that some thought. So what is happening, and like I said, it's not unusual situation for when a new development comes forward and there's dedication of right-of-way. And we generally figure the allowable units based on the actual lot size, the area that is based on your setbacks and based on your assessments. That said, if Plan Commission is, I don't know.
Julie, did you?
Yeah, so I am very concerned with this reduction of unit because this developer has been working with this for more than a year, and we changed the original business plan that they have, and now I thought that we were all in agreement with the 20 units, and now a reduction to 2 units can affect, the financial of the model, and my question is, why we didn't check with the county before we did our calculation about, that we need to have that more setback for,
that's sort of my question too. Like, how have we not come across? This is the first time in how many years that I've been on the commission that we've had something like this, where we said, if you went to the maximum, here's the number. Oh, by the way, your right of way now puts you down. I've never had that yet. No. So what happened here?
This is kind of staff when staff only looks at these kind of right-of-way things when we have a plat or a CSM. Otherwise, at a minor comp plan amendment level, we just, those aren't site planning things that we look at. In many cases, it would be something with a land planner or an engineer. They're kind of checkbox of these are the things that we would look at as we're bringing a project forward.
So basically, if I get this right, the zoning is still going to be low density, so they have to come back to get rezoned, right? As the next step.
Yes, they will have to be rezoned.
And do we now have? Didn't we put in the medium high density? Is that one of right? We approved that. Yeah. That went through. That was my I'm just wondering if a couple of months ago, we said we're going to take this from low to medium when we only had low, medium, high as an option. Now we've implemented exactly what this is trying to do, that medium housing that we're all trying to fill in, which is that medium high. In my mind, it is not that far of a gap to say future land use was medium and the zoning is going to become medium high. To allow for the exact package that everyone here, all the neighbors have all agreed to, that it was 20, we agreed to 20, we've taken it down from 24. Now that was me as a complete amateur. Does that fly with city staff, though, to say your future land use and your zoning don't match?
Well, yes, so if you were to approve, probably this will have to come through with PDD. If Plan Commission and it's not going to be, it's very unlikely to make the rezoning to work other than with planned development districts. So what is essentially you would be doing is, of course, your future land use map is part of your comp plan. That is a policy document. So if you were to approve the rezone at 20 units, you would not be consistent with your policy document. It's not a legal document, right? You technically could.
With all due respect, I know what you're saying, but I think these people, when they came last time, they left here saying that we approved 20 units. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And to remove 2 units from the development, it can cause financial distress. You know what I mean?
It's 10%.
Yeah, and so. And I will ask, all of you to keep the 20 unit and find a way where we can help them to build the 20 unit. From where we can get more land or whatever. You reduce the stormwater, facility. I don't know, but we need to help them to allow them to build the 20 units. I don't know.
I think we all probably agree with that.
Right.
That we're trying to get to that point. I think if in a perfect world, what would happen is we would have another comp plan amendment and update the future land use for this. Honestly, if that's really wanted to play by the book and everything, now that we know what the county's going to take. So what would be staff's recommendation? Given that the commission, I think, is pretty unilaterally in agreement, what is the best way forward so that we don't hold them to a standard they shouldn't be, but also we're not going to get ourselves into some legal problem?
I'm going to have to work out on that.
Okay.
Could I just make one request? This would be our 3rd round going around, and my request is, can we find a process that is not going to put us back another 6 months? Because every time we're losing on housing and we're losing financially.
It's key to kind of note what this application is as well. This is a CSM, a land division document. This is not setting that unit count at this stage. What Deanna's talking about is a legal question that we can figure out on the back end what our options are, but that's not going to affect this approval today.
No,
that's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
So we got time to figure that out, though. Is what you're basically saying.
But we can remove the 20. Can we put 20 back instead of 18?
There's nothing in the conditions for that.
So why we have 18?
There was just a staff note in the staff report.
I don't know. Okay.
Can I have a moment, please?
Is there time to do another minor comp plan amendment? I mean, if you wanted
to
just be like totally, not today. I mean, it's gone.
No, because we need to wait for September.
We won't start another one until October.
That's what I'm saying. That is not at all I don't think an option, but it was just sort of if that's really to be going through all the hoops, let's get rid of some of the red tape hoops. So yeah.
So far as the legal position is concerned, the only, I think, the support of this being illegal or illegal is you have been doing it for the past several years. This is the only argument in support of this being illegal. My argument is the dedication, easements, they do not affect the title of the entitlement of the number of units, because the dedication and easement, they do not divest the title of the owner. This is the only undertaking by the owner that this land will be used for the public good for this particular purpose, and in that public, the developer is also one of the public. So the land which is dedicated to the highway or for the easement or for the gas and electric company, those lands cannot be deducted from my entitlement. My entitlement stands what my ownership is. My ownership is for 2.25 acres. That stands there. The dedication is a specification of a certain piece of land for a certain use, and that I cannot raise construction on the land which is left for easement. I cannot raise construction on the land which is the easement for the water and sewer or for the electricity and other utilities. I cannot raise the construction. But that dedication, that easement does not reduce my ownership and my entitlement to the number of units. If you have been doing in the past 30, 40 years, that doesn't mean that that's a law. I don't think there is any law which says, even the comprehensive plan, the city ordinances, nowhere it says once the land is dedicated, the entitlement will be reduced. So the legally, I'm entitled to the number of units according to my deed. And if some land is dedicated for any public good, that is nice on the part of the person who is dedicating, although it's a legal requirement, but still it's nice. And he should not be punished. If cannot be rewarded, not be punished. So legally, my point is the dedication, easement, these things does not affect the title of the property owner. The property owner's title remains the same, which is on the title deed. So the number of units or the density has to be decided on the basis of the title deed.
Thank you. Yep. Obviously, we're in agreement. Zach, did you have something? Hand is raised. Okay.
No, that's just the cursor.
Nope.
That's the cursor. Could we get a normal cursor in here? Quit fooling with me. Yes, Gabrielle.
Just to clarify, we're not going to solve this problem tonight.
No,
I think it's pretty
exactly.
clear the commission agrees that we should try to do for 20 units, but regardless, that's a little bit off topic because we're talking about the certified survey map. So can I make a motion to approve certified survey map request CS 254324 with the 15 conditions outlined by staff?
Seconded by Julia. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is E. Final plat request FP 2544-24 to obtain final plat approval to replat one existing outlot into 12 buildable lots on a property located in the Terra Vista neighborhood. Here to present is Sherry. Hello. Should be online.
Hi, yeah, I'm here through the Zoom meeting.
Go ahead. Would you like to tell us about this?
Yeah, so we're under smart code in the Terra Vista neighborhood, and this is a parcel we have acquired from the developer, and he has not subdivided them just because that way we can better coordinate it with our floor plan. And we have done similar project in this neighborhood on outlot 54 and outlot 53. And these lots will be single family, zero lot line, single family, and there will be 12 of them in the format of 6 duplex buildings. And this product has been well received by residents. It's a very cost-effective building that can hit that lower pricing point for starter home family. So therefore, we're proposing the platting of dividing them into 12 zero lot line home property tax parcel.
All right, thank you. Staff report.
So this proposal is in Terra Vista. It complies with the approved Terra Vista Article 3, and it also complies with the T4 transit zone in Smart Code, which requires a minimum of 70% residential uses. Sherry kind of explained what the proposal was for. This is very similar to 2 other developments that Plan Commission has approved, and staff recommends approval with a total of 15 conditions.
Questions and comments? If not, I'll take a motion.
I'll move approval of final plat request FP 254424 with the 15 conditions from staff.
Second.
Seconded by Carol. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next up then is 5F.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sherry. 5F Ordinance 2024-0-16. Looks like we are going to be postponing this.
Yes, so staff will need to renotice this. That was completely my error. What I request, Chair, if you could open the public hearing.
I was just going to ask that.
If you could open the public hearing and then close the public hearing, because I don't believe anyone is here to speak. And then we will delay or postpone that public hearing till June 18th, and then I'll ask for a motion to postpone this item till June 18th.
And I think because we're not discussing it, we get to table it, don't we?
I'm not sure.
No, I think, isn't it postponed once you've already discussed it, and then you postpone? I thought tabling was when you don't even take it up today and you table till next time. Anyway, okay. Anyway, I will open the public hearing for 5F, consideration of ordinance 2024-0-16. I'll close the public hearing, and I'll take a motion to postpone.
I move to postpone ordinance 2024-0-16 to the June 18th meeting.
Second.
Seconded by Carol. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. That motion carries. Next up is 5G, ordinance 2024-0-12, amending Chapter 27 to reduce the minimum curvature of private roads.
This is a proposed ordinance change to Chapter 27. It would change the roadway curvatures for the corners of private roads from 100 feet to 50 feet. The Director of Public Works feels that this is more than adequate to meet the needs for fire trucks and is consistent to local streets. Fred is here because this is specifically going to assist the development of Inspiration Point with their private roads. So staff does recommend approval of ordinance 2024-012.
Anything from commissioners?
No.
I move approval for ordinance 2024-0-12.
Second.
Seconded by Gabrielle.
Gabrielle.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. Next up, 5H, Resolution R-96-24, approving affidavit to correct the first edition of Swan Creek of Nine Springs, lots 109 and 10, to reduce the vision corner at the right-of-way intersections from 40 feet to 25 feet, consistent with the City of Fitchburg Code of Ordinances.
This is a resolution that the Planning Department is bringing forward also to assist with the development of Fred's project, Inspiration Point, on East Sherrill. The original plat for Swan Creek at Nine Springs required 40-foot vision triangles, those corner triangles, and that is much larger than the Code of Ordinances require. We only require 25 feet in the Code of Ordinance. Staff tried to look back and understand maybe why that change happened. Not really clear here. So what is before you is a resolution that would change the corners at Sassafras and Big Bend, and then Sassafras and Crinkle Root, from a 40-foot vision triangle to a 25-foot vision triangle. And like I mentioned, it's consistent with our current Code of Ordinances. So staff does recommend approval.
I do have a question on this one really quickly. What about like the other corners of like the north side of Sassafras? Do you know, are they also 25 or are they 40?
They're 40
They're
right
also
now.
40. I'm just, one thing that I thought of just knowing that those intersections, I wonder if was it meant to be a roundabout at some point, or one of those like, just that, when you're talking about that, like, why would we have it 40? I'm going, well, that wouldn't be a bad place to have one of those like traffic slowing down circular things in the middle.
Yeah.
But
I don't think 40 foot would even be enough for a roundabout. But I think it just, at that time, the developer put 40. I don't know. But the 40 will remain down on East Sherrill. That will not change with this resolution.
Can I just ask a question for clarification on something like this? Just because I know this block is going to be a little packed in. If if a homeowner were to plant within that vision corner, the city has the ability to kind of either keep that at a lower enough height or kind of remove those plantings? What's the policy there?
Yeah, we would make a request that the plantings be taken down to at least 3 feet, just so that it's
you can maintain the vision.
Car. Yeah. So someone in the car could.
I've seen some of these where like I think I'm fine with it as long as nothing else comes there, right? But then I see somebody putting a bush on that corner, right? And I just want to make sure we have course of action for. Okay.
We would first make a request.
Okay.
I move approval of R9624.
Second.
I'll go to second to Julia. Mm-hmm. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. Next up and last is 5I, Resolution R-89-24, approving First Amendment to Agreement for Subdivision Improvements in the Plat of Hartung Fields.
This is just pretty standard. Of course, last year we platted Hartung Fields. As part of that platting process, we require a subdivision improvement agreement, and that agreement just sets out what the required public improvements are going to be and what standards are needed for those public improvements. So things like sewer, water lines, roads, curbs, and sidewalks. In this case, the applicant or the developer is asking for a small change to a couple small changes to that agreement. One of the big changes is to change the phasing policy, the phasing plan, and take out one of the lots so that at a later date that lot can receive the public utilities. It won't be connected directly right now into sewer. It'll happen at a later date. So it's actually pretty standard. I'm sorry that didn't make a whole lot of sense, but staff recommends approval.
It's only your second meeting and like 5th hour of meeting of Plan Commission this week. I don't know why you might be. Motion?
I move to approve Resolution R-89-24.
Second.
Seconded by Carol. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next up is item 6, report from department. First up is Ag and Rural Affairs.
No meeting this month.
Easy enough. Transportation Transit.
Hold on just one moment while I pull up my notes. We met on May 13th. Got a couple of updates on the streets. Fitrona Road is going to have 100% planned soon. So that's coming along. Street resurfacing started on May 6th. And that is underway. There's a map on the website for what we're going to plan to do this year. Sighing Phase 1 is complete, and Sighing Road Phases 2 and 3 are in the final plan stages, so those are moving forward. And the Osmondson Traffic Calming Project is continuing to move forward through the Neighborhood Traffic Management Plan. Then we changed the composition of the TTC, so right now we have the Plan Commission rep, but we also used to have a Board of Public Works rep that was typically vacant. It had been vacant for most of the 4 years I was on the commission, so we changed that to be a rep from Bike and Ped Committee instead. That has yet to pass council, but that's going to go to council next week. And then we did pass the locally preferred alternative for the bus rapid transit north-south corridor. So that's basically one of the first steps of saying we want to continue on the path of the bus rapid transit project. And it's a step that's required for the federal money to start those applications to move forward. So we discussed that and passed it. We discussed federal funding for potential future road projects. And that's all. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Next up is announcements.
Well, I just wanted to mention that I did send out the slides that I shared with Council of the Whole last night. I'm happy to answer any questions or walk through them, depending on the wishes of the chair. But I did share those.
How many people? I was not able to watch. Okay, if most of us have not seen it, could you at least give us a abbreviated version, maybe? The Cliff Notes?
Yeah.
Because this doesn't look familiar from the link that you sent me into the OnBase, and what was linked does not look like this. It was like the 3 options for South the South Neighborhood
yes.
Plan. That's what was linked. So
okay.
I haven't seen this at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
I probably just sent you the bubble diagrams then.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. I apologize. I will send the slides too. So we just, I wanted to just, I'll just walk through real quick the urban growth boundary that the city enacted in 2007 that just aimed to protect farmland, sustainable city services, and then we work with this 75 acres per year of maximum urban service area expansion. So, for example, when we go to Carp C and do an expansion of the urban service area, under the comp plan today, we have a maximum area of 75 acres per year, averaged over a 5-year time period. So 1 year we could do 200 but it's averaged over that 5-year. The idea here was to encourage compact development. And out of that came the future urban development areas. Of course, many of you are probably very familiar. We've already did neighborhood plans for the Northeast neighborhood. We've did a plan for McGaw, and then we've also have done a plan for North Stoner. Right now, we're working on the South Stoner Prairie Neighborhood Plan and also the Greenfield Neighborhood Plan. So just a little bit of background for how those work. The neighborhood planning process, we're doing this in coordination with the Capital Area Regional Plan Commission. And the reason for that is they're the ones who actually do the final approval for expanding the urban service area. Once the neighborhood plan is adopted, it becomes part of the comp plan as an appendix. And some of the things that we look at is natural resources, parks, open space, transportation and connectivity, stormwater management, utilities, land use, that urban-rural interface, and the goals of the comp plan. And that's where I just wanted to lead in briefly. We talked about what are the 4 major goals of the comp plan, being sustainable, equity, vibrant, and cooperative. And I just walk us through these overarching goals of our comp plan because that becomes the basis of our planning process for the neighborhood plans. Some things in kind of I just kind of brought this together. So what does that really mean? Well, thinking about city services as long-term sustainable, right? How do we make sure that our tax base and our resources are matching the maintenance of our infrastructure and the long-term replacement of that infrastructure? So making sure that the city has adequate resources to maintain and repair our sewer and water lines and roads and curbs and gutters over the time. Diverse housing, mixed use, complete communities. So in talking about complete communities, we're thinking about places where people can live, work, and play. Compact development, we look towards multimodal, walkable communities, bikeable communities, friendly to transit, and then protection of farmland and open space. So where we are, just briefly, we've done several open houses. Each neighborhood plan has had 3 steering committee meetings. We've had a couple of Greenfield, more specific concept meeting and then visioning meeting. And so where we in general are looking at our bubble diagrams. So in South Stoner, we have option A and option B. And these are just land use kind of categories. And it's not meant to say, this is exactly where this is going to be, but it's allowing us to kind of look at the relative sizes and areas. So is this the right amount of business park versus is this the right amount, kind of in general, right amount of high density? And then kind of looking at how those different bubbles are fitting together. So in option A, that one is it's centered on a school. And you can see there's actually a lot of more area put towards housing. And then, of course, there isn't a business park in option A. The school kind of works with option A because there's just more rooftops, more families, more kids, right? Option B is has the business park. It's kind of reworking it, those relationships a little bit different. So I'll just kind of stop there and see if the commission has any comments about option A or option B. And of course, you're more than welcome to send the planning team any any of your thoughts or ideas, or jump into.
The one thing I would say is to your earlier point about making sure we have the funds to match the city services needed. There must be a tax difference between these two, I would assume. If we were to rough out how much we get per acre of business versus low density versus high, and the services required for those.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we're not there at doing utilities and numbers, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, we do know in just looking at, and it's been done across the country and different, per square foot of high density residential or higher density mixed use, more than pays for the city services that that are there, right? And larger lots generally do not provide enough tax base to support those services. It's kind of a standard across. Now, that said, it's very important for a community to have mixed housing and different types of housing and low density and high density. That's what makes a healthy, complete community.
I'm thinking more between housing and the business park, mm-hmm. or medium density versus mixed use. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm because to me that's the difference between A and B. It's how much housing versus how much business do you want, and that's where my question is if you average those out, where's the money?
Yeah.
So that's kind of one thought that I would have.
So generally, business park is going to have overall less cost on city services. That's generally going to be the case.
And the creation of another school obviously is going to increase the school tax across the entire Verona school district in the city of Fitchburg.
Who says it needs to be a Verona school district? It could be Fitchburg.
It's already, that ship sailed.
Yeah, right. So just a couple quick slides about some things that we were hearing. The steering committee preferred option A with business park east of the proposed commerce park. We did do a survey. In the survey, there really wasn't a clear preference for A or B. We are hearing from the community, these are just some comments from the community that we're hearing, preserve the connection to nature. There was a strong interest for trails and greenways, support for mixed housing with some higher density housing, especially closer to Lacey, that would support transit. There's a concern for housing affordability. In general, people prefer low-density residential, but there is support for higher density housing that might be on small lots or townhomes or small lot family, single family. There's interest in maintaining a connection to landscape and culture and agriculture, and then interest in the views and just the landscape. So these were just some of the important things. We did interviews with some of the landowners. Of course, one of the complications of this neighborhood plan is that a big chunk of it is a quarry and will continue to be a quarry for probably the next 5 to 10 years, maybe longer. One of the things that staff is working through is oftentimes quarries are left with high walls, the quarry walls. And so working through how that is going to be dealt with. Do the walls come down? Are they backfilled? One of the landowners here is not interested in business park, which offers a little bit more challenges for us. Another landowner is interested in some business park west of Commerce. And then we have one landowner that just really wants low-density residential with and not interested in quarrying their property. So I just am bringing forward some of the comments we're hearing, some of the things that we're hearing as we're going through our process. I'll stop right there for a minute.
Because we discussed this last night at the Committee of the Whole.
Yep.
We have a good conversation about this. And my question is, if we are doing a business park on the north part of Lacey, why do we need to have a business park in this side, in the south? Why we don't build more houses? This is what we need.
Yeah. Well, here's what I'll give you 2 cents on staff, and then maybe I'll let our economic development director have his 2 cents. But so the city doesn't have a lot. There isn't a whole lot of existing areas in the city that make logical sense to extend business uses. And of course, Commerce Park, it coming down off of 18 and Verona Road and McKee is a natural extension of Business Park. So that's one thing I will say. The next thing I would say is, one of our priorities is the idea in our comp plan is complete communities, right? Communities where people can live, work, and play. And so staff has brought forward an option to say, could be a spot where a business park would work.
Okay, but if we look at the Greenfield neighborhood plan, there are plenty of land there that it could be for a future business park on the east of the 14. So I don't know. So this is because I was thinking about what we discussed last night, and then, maybe I didn't make this comment last night, but thinking my afterthought is like, why do we need to have this business park here when we can do it in Greenfield because we have more open land there, and we have we have in the north of Lacey Road, we are creating a business park there. So I would prefer that we can build more houses. I don't know. I understand that we need more big parcels. I get it. I know it. This is what I move forward with TID number 18. But you know what I mean? But
am I on? Okay, Mike Zimmerman, Economic Development Director for the City of Fitchburg. We need more business park and industrial land throughout the City of Fitchburg. Some in the Verona Road corridor, some in the 18 or in the Highway 14 corridor. We're going to get 66 acres north of Lacey Road, but approximately 20 to 30 of those acres are already owned by Sub-Zero Group, so it's not available for other businesses and prospects there. 7 acres now is owned by General Beverage that they acquired from Payne and Dolan. So it's not a matter of just existing companies, but what's our inventory for new prospects? I can tell you today, I just got a call from a broker asking me, Mike, where do you have 20 acres available? It's hard to find right now, and we don't have the TID district in place until hopefully next Thursday for TID number 18, there. But it just goes to show you the market that's out there right now. The greater Madison region, and you know this very well from your being on the MAD Rep Board, we are in short supply of land regionally here for clean manufacturing, light industrial. You remember the business park study that they just did this last year. And we do not have a lot of sites available for 10 plus acres. They're not in Fitchburg nor the region, here. So it's something that if we want to be in that economic development spectrum, there, and to me, a balanced and healthy community has employment, has those businesses. I would just cite Sub-Zero as a perfect example. That 50 acres that they're on, 2 million square feet under roof, and 2,000 employees that work out of that campus. That was not there 25 years ago. And look at what has developed. And not only a great corporate citizen, good tax base, good employment, good wealth, but there's a lot of other community development benefits that we derive from those types of major employers, whether they be Sub-Zero or whether they be Promega, that do a lot of good things in this community. So I know I'm a little biased as the Economic Development Director, but I think it's important that we add more land to our inventory. We need some on the west side. We need some on the east side there. So I would advocate for more on the west side, both north and south, and still get additional land for single-family and multifamily housing because we're definitely in need of that as well. But then we also need business park on the east side in the Greenfield neighborhood, especially between Highway 14 and the rail line there, that kind of linear rectangular area. And then looking longer term on the east side along Highway 14, and part of the reason for the interchange over there sometime in the future, and it might be 10 plus years, is that when we jump Highway 14 to the east side and we have to develop Greenfield first to follow the sewer continuum, but then when we go to the east side of Highway 14, the next FUTA over there is the East Highway 14 FUTA. So it's a natural progression as we go from south and then from west to east there. So it's all part of a puzzle as far as how that fits together. And that's the reason for why I'm a big advocate for we should be starting those conversations with WSDOT, knowing that it will take 10 plus years for an interchange along Highway 14 somewhere. I don't know where it remains to be determined there, and I know that's a lot of the neighborhood planning, but somewhere we should be continuing those conversations going forward.
What percentage, do you know the percentage of the 2,000 employees at Sub-Zero are Fitchburg residents?
I don't know that number, and I should maybe get an update from them. Some years ago, we actually did a kind of what you call a zip code scatter shot, from their HR department. So we at least knew kind of where were the zip codes that their employees lived in and everything there. So I should maybe reach back out to them and just ask for an updated analysis of that. And that's 2,000 employees over 3 shifts, because they run 3 shifts over there.
I was just going to ask if we could bring up the South Stoner Prairie bubbles again with the 2 side by side. There's been a lot of discussion within the committee too about when looking at option B. There's obviously things that people like about both options. Was do we take the business park and leave that basically generally to the east of the conceptual road, and then add a high density component on the west side of that road, because there isn't a lot of high density in that particular plan. You have just that one central area, However, we thought we could resize some of those bubbles to get more HDR in there in addition to MDR to try to balance it out. And then that way you continue your business corridor down from the north to a certain point. I mean, you could even add an area of high density at the bottom of that before the huge ridge. And that would create a natural separation between the high density and the low density too. So there's a lot of really good options there with being able to have everything in those neighborhoods, I think. But that was just some of the conversation we've had at committee level too.
Great.
All right.
Could I sorry. Could I just add one other perspective? Now I'm on housing here. Okay. Just cut off the mic when I reach my 3 minutes there. But from a housing perspective, we need housing stock across the continuum there. We need everything from additional single family to multifamily ownership to multifamily rental.
You can stop before that one. We have plenty of rentals in this city.
Yeah. But I think we have to be careful that we don't have a one-size-fits-all where we only focus on high-density multifamily rental and forget about the need for additional low-density single-family housing both in South Stoner Prairie and in Greenfield there. Because I could tell you, we just did a tour with Moody's Investment last week for our bond rating upgrade. And one of the things that really impressed upon them was the balance of our growth. And that was the balance of single-family, multifamily, commercial, and business there. So it really resonated with them, and I just think we have to realize that that is a continuum and a healthy community to have that spectrum. And we can't just move to a one-size-fits-all where we think it's just everything's going to be high density in the community. I'll take as much high density in the right places. That makes sense. But we also need to have a good balance of single-family, residential, and ownership throughout our community as well. Just my 2 cents, and hopefully I'm within my 3 minutes.
The one thing I will ask on that, especially for future instances and conversations around this, is I both appreciate all these conversations we have about neighborhood development. I don't really feel like we have a lot of conversations around what infill and established like redevelopment looks like. And I'd love to better understand. We have a lot of single-story commerce in this city, which is a horribly inefficient use of land, right? For something that could have housing above it, for something that could have more businesses on higher levels, and that we could be working towards things that have infrastructure in place that are already better suited for transit. I can completely appreciate who we are as Fitchburg and the opportunity we have here. But from a sustainability perspective, from a livable communities perspective, I don't feel like we have a whole lot of conversation around what does that infill look like? What does that redevelopment look like? How are we incentivizing that and seeing that as part of our stock? And so I think I would love to hear more in future instances about, are we doing enough there? Could we be doing more? What are those conversations? Somebody comes to you and wants 10 acres. That's great. What about a business tower, right? Or something that is a higher density that could still potentially meet these uses without us having to give up huge swaths of new neighborhood kind of thing.
A couple of years ago when we did the North Fish Hatch visioning, that was exactly what you're asking for. We had that, and it was a really good opportunity to look at this is what infill looks like and how you can do it in phases. And we are making our way through that, and that was probably 4 years ago that was really kind of laid out.
Yeah.
But I would love to kind of have that circle back again. Where else are we focused now that Fish Hatch is down that path? What's the next?
I mean, I think about that section on, McKee and Seminole Highway where we had a gap there next to Oak Bank, and yet in another section of single-story commerce went up there, right? I'm thrilled to see it develop. I'm thrilled to see businesses go there. Why is that all we're doing, right? Like, I think that was a nice plot of land with a bunch of infrastructure and just accessibility around it. I'd like to see something bigger, right? I'd like to see something more come in there so that we're not having to keep talking about stretching our facilities further, going to these places, but trying to leverage some of that a little bit more.
The other thing is, in my district, this is true. There are a couple of infill nice parcels, but they are zoning for general business and should be a great parcel for for some type of multifamily. You know what I mean? And so, but this is another thing that we need to rethink about. We need to look at all this zoning code, you know what I mean? Because this is something that next year is important for us, is after this neighborhood are done, and I mentioned to Diana, at the end, in December, we need to send the RFP to do the comp plan. The comprehensive plan has to be done next year. Okay, we'll start the process. It's going to take at least 1 year, 1 year and a half. But also, if we can do at the same time, the zoning code, revise it. Because if we don't revise the zoning code, we are not going to be able to do, create more the missing middle housing or to allow other sort of housing in low density neighborhood, you know what I mean? So I think we need to start thinking about that.
I agree. And I would say, I think we also then need to understand how are we communicating that opportunity to the landowners, right? How are we communicating that to the business development conversations we're having of, everybody, it's relatively easy to cut a 10-acre lot and then have a virgin lot and do whatever you want with it, right? I think it's intimidating, and maybe there's a zoning challenge or other things to doing more of those infill pieces. And I think, a bit of a marketing campaign or a bit of a, how are we approaching others with that opportunity, right? Existing landowners to say, you have an opportunity in this plot to make something that could be, much more successful for you, a better fill for the city, stuff like that. So I think it's just, I want to make sure that we're looking at all the pieces of then how do we communicate that?
Good discussion. Let's continue up with the rest of the presentation.
So I'll move pretty quickly here. For Greenfield, we have 3 different land use concepts, and what I will say is option A is probably it has no interchange, no business park, and pretty large areas of what the planning team is calling an agri-hood. So it would be some low-density residential that would incorporate agricultural uses. Option B, of course, you can see includes the business park, and we're also showing the potential of an interchange that would be on Irish. Option C continues that business park with a little bit more housing, and a proposed interchange would actually shift a little bit to the north of Irish Lane. So I won't dive into a whole bunch of things, but what I did want to just communicate to you all is a little bit about what we've been hearing from the meetings that we've had, from the public meetings. There's a picture on there, and that was the meeting from January of this year, which was a visioning meeting with Greenfield. And we probably had about 30, I think, there. And we had a couple of different exercises that we did, but the community preference at that meeting was very clear for limited growth or no growth options. The steering committee does prefer A or B at this point. There is a pretty consistent preference in the neighborhood for lower density housing. There's more openness to density development and urban development at the northeast quadrant of Greenfield. Strong emphasis on preserving wetlands and farmlands. We've heard from the neighbors and from the community that they don't want to see cookie cutter homes, but yet there is a need for community and civic spaces. We're hearing concerns about traffic, stormwater, ecological health. There's a desire for improved bike and pedestrian safety, particularly on Irish Lane. Concern with rapid urbanization and agricultural areas, and maintaining the existing community character and culture. There's a desire for a parks expansion and recreation. We're still working on this potential interchange location. So I threw a whole bunch of stuff out there, but just kind of an overview of some of the things we've been hearing from the community.
What does DOT say is the timeline for the interchange?
DOT does not say anything.
Crystal ball guess. I mean, isn't it kind of hard to plan when you don't know when the interchange, where it's going to be?
No, yeah. I mean, I was not being facetious.
No, I'm sure you weren't. Yeah.
The DOT doesn't say anything. So really, this would be a matter of the city putting it on the map, right? And it would probably take more than 10 years at a minimum to move the needle on an interchange.
I'll add that the one thing the DOT did say was that they did not have this location identified for a future interchange in their current planning. So it's something that the city would need to identify as a priority to get it on their radar.
Thank you, Brad. Some other comments. There's two farm families that still two farms in. There's definitely two families in operation yet. They plan to continue farming for the foreseeable future. In our interviews, most of the landowners did not envision apartments here. There was a preference for low-density residential. We also did hear a comment that we search for the greatest flexibility with what we do with our land long-term. So those are just some general comments of what we're hearing.
All right, thank you. Any further questions or other announcements? If not, I'll take a call for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Seconded by Julia. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. 8:36.